I'm an illegitimate daughter, but Oliver was willing to marry me. He would go against the whole world for that. The matriarch of the Carter family couldn't refuse him. In the end, she could only reluctantly agree to us being together. 5 years after our marriage, if Oliver still pampers me like he does now, only then would I be willing to have children. This was the condition she proposed, but just after the first year, Oliver was eager for me to get pregnant. On the day I learned I was pregnant, Oliver cried out of excitement. In that moment, I felt like the happiest woman in the world, but I didn't expect. He actually wanted to exchange my child's life for the life of the person he loves. In that case, both of you should be punished. After 10 months of pregnancy, I'm about to give birth, but my husband Oliver has not shown up at all. I'm in so much pain in the delivery room, but he still hasn't come. The pain of contractions nearly made me faint, but I still can't help but worry that he might be in some trouble. I have always believed that Oliver loves me, and I always felt that he was looking forward to this child, but I am an illegitimate daughter. I have never been able to enter his home since I was a child. Between him and me, it's like there is an insurmountable chasm. He is the heir of the Carter Group, and I am simply not in the same world as him. He has always loved me deeply. For 3 whole years, he has never left. Even for the sake of marrying me, he is willing to fall out with his family. The matriarch of the Carter family thinks my background is not good enough. I'm not worthy of their family. She believes I shouldn't give birth to a child of the Carter family. She proposed a condition, that I must marry Oliver for 5 years. If he still dotes on me like he does now, only then can I get pregnant. After marriage, the matriarch always finds trouble for me. She wants to make me uncomfortable, so that Oliver will lose confidence in me. But Oliver has always stood by my side, protecting me. The first year of marriage, he asked me to stop taking birth control pills. He said he wants a child of our own during the pregnancy. Oliver took special care of me. He was by my side almost every moment. He was afraid that I would have any issues. I couldn't eat because of morning sickness. He specifically found the best nutritionist, learning how to cook meals suitable for pregnant women. Then he personally cooked for me. He always complained that time was moving too slowly. He couldn't wait to see the baby. I couldn't help but laugh. It turns out happiness is that simple. Today, the baby he has been looking forward to is finally about to be born. If it weren't for something particularly important, he definitely wouldn't miss it. I was holding back the pain and pushing hard, while anxiously waiting for news from assistant Emily. Emily rushed into the delivery room. Her eyes were evasive. Under my impatient questioning, she finally hesitantly spoke up. Oliver was with me when I was about to give birth. He took someone to the airport to pick up his cousin, Sophia, who was returning from treatment in Switzerland. The hospital's staff had complicated expressions. Only my 2 assistants looked very worried. They advised me, "Young lady, don't think too much. The most important thing now is to safely deliver the baby." It must have been the old lady insisting that he go. Otherwise, how could he bear to leave you and the baby? Emily comforted me, although I was angry inside. I also felt that he might have been forced into it. When he comes back, he must make it up to me properly. Otherwise, don't expect to see the baby. I spent a whole day and night. Finally, I gave birth to a daughter. Although I was extremely exhausted, but looking at the little treasure in my arms, I felt it was worth all the hardship. It's just that Oliver couldn't witness this moment. It's a bit of a regret. I looked down at the wrinkled little one in my arms. Although it doesn't look great, I just can't bear to put it down. "Oh, my baby, with that appearance of yours, will Daddy not like it when he comes back?" I smiled and teased my daughter in my arms. "Little lady, please don't say that. The little princess will definitely be very beautiful in the future. Didn't Oliver say? He likes them the same, whether it's a boy or a girl." Thinking of Oliver, I felt a wave of sadness in my heart. I don't even know when he will come back. Emily noticed I was feeling down. She quickly changed the topic to cheer me up. Although Oliver couldn't make it back, the old lady was very happy to hear that you had a safe delivery. She even had the company give everyone a red envelope. I heard she's in the prayer room now. She is sincerely thanking God for the blessing. I heard she is currently in the prayer room. She is sincerely thanking God for his blessings. Emily is saying it too. Over time, you can see a person's true intentions. The old lady was hospitalized at that time. You went to the hospital to take care of her every day. It really wasn't in vain. Our young mistress is so outstanding. The old lady will eventually accept you. Emily and Sophie were chatting and laughing nearby. It also lifted my originally low spirits significantly. In the 2 years since marrying into the Carter family, Although the old lady always finds trouble with me, I still try my best not to make things difficult for Oliver. I know he worries about his cousin Sophia, who is being treated in Switzerland, so I proactively asked the pharmaceutical company under the group to provide her with the best medicine. Even my less favored second cousin, I also tried to take care of her more. Looking back now, these efforts have finally paid off. The days ahead will definitely get better. Just as I was thinking about this, the sound of my daughter crying came from the nursery. The little princess must be hungry. I will call the maternity nurse right away. Emily quickly called in the maternity nurse we had hired earlier. She said, "The little princess is hungry. Please prepare the formula quickly." Wait a moment. I haven't added the nutrients to the formula yet. The postpartum caregiver explained with a smile. Add the nutrients. I frowned at the postpartum caregiver. This caregiver was carefully selected by Oliver. They originally planned for her to start working as soon as the baby was born. But why is she so unprofessional? How could she suggest adding nutrients to the formula? Is there something wrong with the formula? I hadn't had a chance to speak yet. Emily angrily wanted to dismiss the caregiver. She even said she would call the housekeeper, Mrs. Johnson, to replace her. This is outrageous. Can't we find a competent caregiver in all of New York? The daughter was crying from hunger. Sophie hurried over to help calm her down, but the caregiver refused to leave. Suddenly, she knelt down and pleaded, "Madam, please don't make me leave. I'm very good at my job." "Then why are you suggesting adding nutrients?" Emily asked while pulling her along. "I'm not really sure either. Mrs. Johnson specifically reminded me, you must add it when preparing the formula." Add what nutritional supplement? Where is it? I'm feeling quite uncomfortable about this. I just want to see how miraculous this supplement actually is. They insist on making my child drink it, even if it's truly good for the child, at the very least. You should inform me, the mother. It should be done with my consent. What's going on here? You all are making such a racket. What does this look like? Mrs. Johnson walked in, followed by a caregiver, holding a small bottle of nutritional supplement. She looked quite smug, even though she's just a housekeeper. Her demeanor is more imposing than mine as a young mistress. In this household, she only listens to the old lady and Oliver. She never takes me seriously. Mrs. Johnson gave me a disdainful glance and said, "You've really never seen the world," if it weren't for Miss Sophia suddenly stopping in the middle of her sentence. Then she urged, "Postpartum caregiver, quickly add the nutritional supplement. Hurry and prepare the milk powder for the little miss." What nutritional supplement? Not without my nod. No one can use it casually. Heh, this matter is not for you to decide. Besides, haven't you already been drinking this nutritional supplement for 10 months? Mrs. Johnson let out a cold laugh. I was momentarily stunned. I felt that something was off. During my pregnancy, Oliver had someone deliver a cup of nutritional supplement to me every day. He said it was good for the fetus. Now that the child is born, why do I still have to drink it? What exactly is this? I feel that something is a bit off. This is the old lady's intention. If the young lady doesn't agree, then the child can only be sent to the old lady's side. Mrs. Johnson signaled the caregiver to come over. Someone wants to take the child in my arms away. Sophie immediately stood in front of me. "Speak, Mrs. Johnson. Since it's the old lady's wish, as her daughter-in-law, I will definitely listen to her. Postpartum nanny, you can go ahead and add the nutritional supplement." I looked at Mrs. Johnson's fierce expression. She coldly spoke. "Young lady." Emily was anxious to stop the postpartum nanny. I reached out to stop her. Mrs. Johnson saw the nanny adding the nutritional supplement to the formula. She nodded in satisfaction and said, "This is right." After saying that, she turned and left. "Postpartum nanny, you can go back now, in the future. You only need to add the nutritional supplement on time. No need to take care of the child anymore. Don't talk about this everywhere. I will give you double the salary." Hearing that she wouldn't have to work, but could still get double the salary, the nanny happily thanked me and left. Emily and Sophie looked at their daughter, who was crying from hunger in their arms. They were very anxious inside. Emily said, "Young lady, I'll go out and hire another nanny right away. We'll pay for it ourselves." As Emily spoke, she prepared to go outside. "No need to trouble yourself. The old lady will know if we hire someone else. I'll just feed her myself. This situation seems very strange. I can't risk the child's safety. Young lady, isn't this okay?" Even the usually calm Sophie seemed uneasy when she heard I was going to breastfeed myself. She appeared quite unsettled. The rules are fixed, but people are flexible. The current situation is still unclear. It's better for us to be cautious. Perhaps things will be resolved when Oliver returns. Will Oliver really solve the problem when he comes back? I'm starting to have some doubts. Because he keeps making me drink this nutritional supplement. But what he doesn't know is, after drinking for a while, I secretly stopped. At that time, I thought my health was fine. I was worried that drinking too many supplements would be bad for the fetus, but I didn't want to disappoint him. I had Emily quietly pour it out. I lied to him, saying I finished it all. I told Emily, I gave birth to a daughter. It's time to notify friends and family, especially on Sophia's side. You need to go in person. Let Emma handle it. Let's have our people watch around the villa during this time and find a capable bodyguard to come over. Emily and Emma listened to my arrangements. Although they didn't quite understand, they still went to do it right away. Maybe I was overthinking, but my grandfather often said, it's always good to be prepared in advance. Thinking of my grandfather, it warms my heart. My grandfather has a prominent position in the business world. He's the only daughter of my mother. He dotes on her especially. He originally planned to find a son-in-law for my mother, but Mom fell in love with my unreliable dad. She was even willing to be the third party just to be with him. Grandpa angrily kicked Mom out of the house, but he couldn't bear to let me, his granddaughter, become an illegitimate child, so he took me in to raise me. Before the marriage, I had been helping Grandpa manage the business. Life was quite comfortable. 5 years ago, I encountered a robber. The situation was very dangerous at that moment. Oliver just happened to pass by. He saved me. Grandpa originally planned to send a big gift to show his gratitude, but that was the end of the matter. However, Oliver said he fell in love with me at first sight. He insisted on marrying me. Grandpa was worried that I would be bullied after marrying into a wealthy family, but he was also afraid that directly refusing would upset the Carter family, so he made an excuse. He said he wanted to take me abroad to explore the market. If Oliver still insisted on marrying me after we returned, then he would agree to the marriage. 5 years later, Grandpa returned to the country due to serious illness. I saw Oliver still holding on to his original intentions, thinking about my limited time left. I agreed to marry into the Carter family. I hoped to have someone to rely on. But now, I feel lost. That haven that once gave me peace. Can I still trust it now, just when I was anxiously waiting? Oliver finally arrived, this time after he returned home. He didn't come to find me directly as usual. He stayed in Sophia's room the whole time. He just sent a servant over. He said he wanted to take my child away. Oliver wants to see the child. Let him come over to see for himself. I don't want the child to leave my sight. I directly refused. The servant stammered that Miss Sophia wanted to meet this little angel. Then, regardless of my objections, insisted on taking the child away. Just when the servant and Emily were arguing, Oliver appeared. He didn't care about my health. He didn't even ask if the child was safe. He only blamed the servant for not doing their job well. It's been so long since the child was brought to him. I looked at him. My heart felt cold. The man in front of me was both familiar and strange. Oliver, shouldn't you explain a bit? I questioned him. Only then did he notice me. His eyes flickered. He didn't dare to look at me. Lily, we'll talk about this later. Let the child go over first. Sophia is still waiting. Sophia, calling her so affectionately. Sophia is officially Oliver's cousin, but that sounds uncomfortable. In reality, Sophia is a child adopted by the Carter family. Oliver's biological sister went missing when she was young. She was never found. The old lady missed her daughter too much, so she found a girl who looked similar to Ray's instead. She is especially cherished. Later, the Carter family finally found their true heiress, but the Carter family feels she is not as sensible as Sophia. They completely disregard the suffering this heiress endured over the years. They not only let Sophia continue being the young lady, but also arranged for her to marry the wealthy second-generation heir, Thomas, as a secondary wife. They are paving the way for Sophia's future. She wants to see the child. Can't she just come herself? Why make the child run around? Sigh, you just won't listen now. Lily, stop making a fuss. Quick, give me the child. Oliver looks anxious. He reaches out to hold the child while speaking. I back away while holding the child. Hand the child over to Emily. Emma stands in front of us. Quick, move aside. It's delaying Sophia's treatment. You can't bear this responsibility. Oliver is furious. He raises his hand to hit Emma. I quickly reach out to stop him. I'm staring at Oliver. I want to see what kind of person this stranger really is. To treat an illness. I've actually never met Sophia. 5 years ago, Thomas took a liking to her. He wanted her to be the second wife. Now, when it comes to treating an illness, one needs a doctor. My daughter has just been born. What does this have to do with her? The old lady feels sorry for Sophia. She can't bear to see her suffer. So she had her newly recognized biological daughter marry into the Williams family instead, to endure those unpleasant things. Sophia used the excuse of being ill. She hid out in Switzerland, planning to return after things settled down. Strangely enough, she suddenly had a heart attack a year and a half ago. This made Oliver extremely anxious. He specifically flew to Switzerland to accompany her for 6 months. At that time, I was a bit jealous, but knowing their deep feelings for each other, I didn't think much of it. Later, I became pregnant. Oliver was always by my side, take good care of me. I won't think negatively anymore, but now it seems. The meaning behind Oliver's words is to use my child to treat Sophia. This is simply absurd. Lily, you always understand and empathize with others. Gentle and caring, you have always worried about Sophia's illness. Now there is finally a treatment plan. You must be very happy too. Oliver has been avoiding my questions. My cousin's illness can be cured. Of course, I am happy for her, but what does this have to do with my daughter? Facing my question, Oliver still hesitates. Suddenly, the old lady's cold voice came from outside the door. As long as you use this little girl's blood for stem cell transplantation, Sophia's illness can be cured. Do you think the reason I had you drink those nutritional supplements was for nothing? Why are you wasting so much breath on her? The longer it drags on, the more Sophia suffers. The old lady's words chilled me inside. My legs went weak, but I forced myself to calm down. Now, only I can protect my daughter. I watched the old lady walk into the room. My heart was filled with anger. She is your own granddaughter. I couldn't help but question. Oliver, do you really want to experiment with our daughter? Are you all confused? If this continues, she could be in life-threatening danger. Lily, the doctor said there shouldn't be any major issues. We can still have other children in the future. Stop saying these things. It's just a girl. She saved her cousin. That counts as doing a good deed. The old lady's eyes were filled with impatience. Slap. I couldn't help but slap Oliver. These people are really crazy. Where did this doctor come from? What nonsense are they talking about transplanting with newborns? I've never heard of such a treatment method. Emily, quickly contact the experts at Mayo Clinic. Let them do a thorough examination for these people. Brother, just forget it. The doctor also said, the success rate is only a few %. There's no need to do this for me. It makes my sister-in-law so unhappy. This child was born after my sister-in-law went through so much hardship. How can we casually harm her? At that moment, the girl in the white dress, who had been silent next to the old lady, spoke up. She must be Sophia. She looks weak and pitiful, as if she could fall at any moment. I hadn't looked closely before. Now that I take a closer look, she actually resembles me in some ways. I was startled. Miss Isabella's words, relayed by Emily, suddenly echoed in my ears. She said, "You and Sophia look somewhat alike. The person he cares about the most in his heart is actually Sophia. It's just because they are cousins. They can't be together. That's why they found you to be a stand-in," I originally thought. Isabella spoke those words because Sophia took away her identity as the young lady and the old lady's affection. But now it seems I'm just deceiving myself. There's no such thing as love at first sight. Even if there's just a glimmer of hope, it's worth a try. Oliver looked at Sophia, his eyes filled with compassion. He said firmly, "Lily, you better stop messing around. Hand the child over to me. You can still continue being Mrs. Carter. Quick, bring the child over." Oliver watched Sophia swaying unsteadily. His heart was filled with both anxiety and sorrow. He yelled at me loudly, completely losing his usual gentle demeanor. He looked particularly terrible. It looks particularly bad. After receiving Oliver's instructions, they no longer hesitated. They rushed up immediately. Although the bodyguards in my yard tried their best to protect, there were too few of them. They simply couldn't stop them. In the end, the child was forcibly taken away, handed over to that unreliable doctor. The baby seemed to sense something was wrong and started crying loudly. The doctor took the child and pulled out a syringe. Without saying a word, he injected the child. Suddenly, a noise was heard. In a critical moment, a cigarette ashtray flew in from outside, knocking the syringe to the ground. No one had reacted yet. The retired Special Forces bodyguard that Emma arranged had already snatched the child from the doctor's hands and quickly retreated to my side. handing the child back to me. Seeing the child was safe, I finally relaxed my worried heart, just when Oliver and the others were about to forcefully take the child again. Suddenly, I heard Sophia scream. Emma quietly followed my hint. Take advantage of the moment when no one is watching. Suddenly, Sophia was controlled. Forced her to swallow a pill. Sophia immediately collapsed on the ground. Her lips slowly turned purple. Sophia. Oliver hurriedly ran over. He rushed to hold Sophia. His face was anxious. He nervously asked, "What did you give her? Sophia is so kind. How could you hurt her? I really misjudged you. If anything happens to Sophia, I will never let you go." Oliver's eyes turned red with anger. He looked at me like I was his enemy. I felt both sad and angry inside. This is definitely poison, and it's highly toxic. I am the only one who knows the formula for this poison. If you don't believe me, you can call your doctor to check. See if they can neutralize this poison. I watched coldly, watching them. The inept doctor examined Sophia. He shook his head helplessly, indicating that he was at a loss. Take out the antidote. Otherwise, I will divorce you. Upon hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. If you don't leave me, I won't give up on you either, since Oliver never truly loved me. What gives him the right to think he can continue to receive my love? I want the antidote. Okay, we'll sign the divorce agreement right away. Once I leave here safely with the child, I'll give it to you. When Oliver heard I was getting a divorce, he was completely stunned. It seemed he never expected me to be so resolute. He hurriedly explained. Lily, I truly had no choice but to do this. You are my wife. Everything I said before was said in anger. I never thought about separating from you. Give me the antidote. I promise I won't experiment with our daughter anymore. Let's start over. Everything will get better. Oliver quietly pleaded. Oliver, I will only give you half an hour. Time's up. No one can save your Sophia now. Oliver, what are you waiting for? The old lady urged anxiously. Hurry up and sign. Get that woman out of here. Getting the antidote to save Sophia is the priority. She was anxiously stamping her feet. Oliver looked at the seriously ill Sophia in his arms. He felt very conflicted inside. He hesitated for a moment. Finally, he made up his mind and said, I will sign the divorce agreement, but you must give me the antidote. If you leave without giving the antidote, what am I supposed to do, Oliver? You actually want to negotiate with me now. After I leave safely, I will naturally give you the antidote. Believe it or not, I don't care. I'm just worried that your Sophia won't be able to wait. Why don't you find a few more experts to take a look? It's up to you. In the end, Oliver still didn't dare to risk Sophia's life. All right, I promise you, when I got the divorce agreement, I felt a sudden relief in my heart. But at the same time, I also felt a bit lost. However, now is not the time to be sad. I held my daughter, leading Emily and Emma, hastily packing up jewelry and property documents, rushing towards the front door. Just as I reached the door, Oliver arrived with the security guard. He said, Lily, things haven't reached an irreversible point yet. Give me the antidote. When Sophia wakes up, you go apologize to her. This matter will be put behind us. You are still the president's wife of Carter Group. Is that okay? I looked at Oliver's handsome face, with exquisite features and an elegant demeanor. He was once the ideal choice in the hearts of many socialites. When I married him, many people envied me. I even felt proud of it. But looking back now, what good is a pretty face when the heart is so dark? Stop talking nonsense. Open the door. Wait until I leave here. The prescription will naturally be given to you. Lily, do you really not believe me? Oliver pretended to be deeply emotional. If it weren't for the security gradually surrounding us, I almost fell for his act. A person who betrays his wife and daughter has no right to talk about trust. After hearing this, Oliver's face suddenly turned ugly. He was silent for a while. Finally, he let out a heavy sigh. Only then did he signal the security to open the door. The moment I stepped out of the villa's gate, I finally felt completely liberated because no one could threaten my daughter's safety anymore. I kept my promise to you. I've fulfilled all of them. Where is the antidote? Oliver asked eagerly. I smiled coldly. I turned to look at Emily. Emily, please tell Oliver the cure. Emily happily agreed. She quickly walked to the open space in front of the villa. She shouted loudly, Oliver, listen carefully. The recipe is very simple. 1 bowl of dog urine and 1 bowl of horse urine. The most important thing is to use your blood as the catalyst. Miss Sophia drank this. She will wake up soon. You must remember this clearly. There must be no mistakes. If the catalyst is mixed wrong, Miss Sophia won't wake up. Then you can't blame us. At the entrance of the community, People coming and going laughed upon hearing this. Oliver's expression changed repeatedly. His eyes were filled with anger. He said to me, "Don't go too far. I understand that you acted impulsively. As long as you hand over the antidote, I won't pursue it any further." He immediately signaled the security to come forward. They planned to forcibly take us back. I shouted for help. "Help! The president of Carter Group is going to harm his own wife and daughter. My lady has already divorced Oliver. They still want to bully others with their power. They want to take away my lady's property." Emily shouted loudly. "Everyone, come and judge," before the security of the Carter family could surround us. She shouted out first. More and more people gathered around. Everyone pointed and whispered about the Carter family members, making them afraid to act casually. "Oliver, does the formula work? You'll know if you try it. Rather than making everyone unhappy here, it's better to hurry back and save your Sophia. Time waits for no one." After saying that, I turned and walked away with Emily. The Carter family's security was startled by Emily's commotion. They didn't dare to step forward and stop her anymore. As soon as Emma left the villa, the prearranged driver brought over 2 luxury cars immediately. She got into the car. The noise outside was shut out. Only then did I feel utterly exhausted. I looked at my sleeping daughter. I couldn't help but laugh. This child is definitely going to be someone formidable in the future. She didn't cry or make a fuss despite the noise earlier. Yes, the little miss must also be worried about her mother. "I know, Lily, you are working hard. I don't want to trouble you anymore." Emily and Emma noticed that I looked a bit tired. They were also afraid I might be upset about the Carter family matters. So they talked about some interesting things nearby to cheer me up. I felt a warmth in my heart. Although I married the wrong person, thankfully I discovered the truth in time. There is still a chance for redemption. "Lily, where are we going now? Are we heading back to the Smith family? The Smith family has never been my home. Now they must be eager to distance themselves from me. How could they possibly let me go back? My mother, her thoughts are all on my stepfather. She must still be worried that I will affect my stepfather's reputation." Emily and Emma listened to this. Thinking back, if it weren't for my grandfather protecting me, my mom almost listened to my stepfather. He wanted to marry me off to a wealthy businessman as the third party. "Lily, why don't we just leave this place? We have money. We can find a suitable place to start over. Why should we leave? We are not the ones who did something wrong. Let's first settle in Hudson Heights. We can talk about the rest later." "Hudson Heights is the mansion my grandfather prepared specifically for me," he said. "If my husband and I have conflicts in the future, this can become my safe haven." My grandfather only mentioned it casually before. I didn't expect it to actually come true now. Thinking of my grandfather, my eyes feel a bit moist again. After Hudson Heights was bought, it has never been lived in. My grandfather was always afraid that I would be gossiped about because of my mother. So for all these years, he took me around for business. Now, looking at every blade of grass and tree in Hudson Heights, I particularly miss those days traveling on business with my grandfather. Although it was quite tiring running around, I could sleep soundly every night. Now I no longer have to be on guard against being schemed against. "Lily, the manager of the Plaza Hotel called. He said there is an important guest who wants you to come over." Emily's words snapped me back to reality. The owner of the Plaza Hotel is Victoria. This is already an open secret in the business world. Victoria is the president's beloved daughter. Everyone says if she weren't a woman, the family business would have long been handed over to her. My grandfather had warned me long ago not to get too close to people in politics and business. It's best to live a simple life. But now, my relationship with the Carter family has soured. I just want to live peacefully. But some people don't seem to intend to let me have my way. I need to prepare in advance. "Hello, Victoria. I'm Lily. I'm sorry to bother you. I've never seen a noble like Victoria before. Now I'm taking risks. I'm inevitably a bit nervous," he said with a smile. "Don't be so formal. Look up so I can see you. Which strong woman dares to make someone drink something unclean in front of so many people?" After hearing this, I felt my face flush. I felt a bit uncomfortable. Looking up, I saw a young lady in a suit standing in front of me. It must be Victoria. She seems very approachable, but her demeanor still exudes leadership qualities. "Victoria, I'm sorry to make you laugh. This medicine is something I accidentally got from a shaman abroad. It's just some ordinary sedatives. It's just to scare people a little. It's quite interesting. You mentioned that iron mine. My people have already checked it out. It's indeed true. I'm a little curious. Why don't you give this to my cousins? I'm just a girl. Maybe one day I'll be sent to the overseas branch by the family. How can I compare with them? Children of wealthy families are indeed suspicious. Just a moment ago, they were all smiles. In the blink of an eye, they turned cold. Victoria, your business skills are no worse than those of men, but everyone regrets that you're a girl. But I think, what does it matter if I'm a girl? If Victoria didn't have to go abroad against her will, the situation in the business world might be completely different. I'm a woman too. I understand how hard it is for women in this world. I just want to find a place to settle down, I said calmly. Victoria was silent after hearing this. She just looked at me quietly. The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. I nervously clenched my handbag. What I gave to Victoria is a rare earth mine that no one has discovered yet. It was discovered by my grandfather by chance. Rare earth resources are strictly controlled by the state. They are mainly used in high-tech fields. If this news gets out, it could lead to some unforeseen consequences. My grandfather thinks it's best if we don't get involved. But now I can only take the risk. I'm betting on this one. The outcome of this matter completely depends on Victoria's choice. After careful consideration, I decided to give her this information. If she were just an ordinary rich girl, she could easily pass the information to her cousin as leverage for future negotiations. But now she not only sent someone to verify the situation, but also came to see me in person, and she hasn't made it public. This shows she has her own plans for power. I've made it very clear. The decision-making power is now in her hands. How to use this leverage completely depends on her choice. All I want is a support. I hope she can understand my thoughts. Heh, Victoria sneered. Oliver used to look quite clever. Why is he confused now, ignoring a smart woman like you, instead treating that pretentious person as a treasure? Let's go back. I understand your request. Fortunately, I guessed correctly. After hearing Victoria's assurance, I felt much more at ease, but this relaxed feeling didn't last long. It changed as soon as we reached the entrance of Hudson Heights. As soon as the car entered the community, I noticed a large crowd gathered at the mansion's gate. I vaguely heard a woman crying at the entrance. Emily reacted quickly. She immediately got out of the car to check the situation. It turned out that Sophia was kneeling in front of Hudson Heights. She was crying very sadly. She looked like she was about to faint. Leaning half on her assistant, she appeared very pitiful. I secretly felt unlucky. First, let Emily call a doctor. Then I got out of the car. I originally planned to leave directly, out of sight, out of mind, but I can't help but think of my daughter at home. I had to hold back my discomfort and get off the car. As soon as Sophia saw me, she clung to my clothes and started to sob. She begged me not to be angry over the argument between her and her brother. She also tearfully told me that she obediently drank the bad-tasting medicine I gave her, hoping I could calm down. To others, I became the petty bully. I sneered. Clearly, she wanted to shift the blame onto me, to salvage her own reputation. Sophia, it was your brother who begged me yesterday to prescribe medicine for you. Some of the ingredients in that prescription do taste bad. If you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to drink it. Why are you blaming me now, claiming that I forced you to drink it? That doesn't make sense. I didn't force you to drink it. As for my divorce with your brother, just don't worry about it. I've completely lost faith in him, so I don't want to continue anymore. This has nothing to do with you. Don't think too highly of yourself. Sophia certainly won't reveal the reason for her fainting. If everyone knew she wanted to use the baby's umbilical cord blood for treatment, she would likely be severely criticized. In the Carter family, the only reason she dares to do this is because she relies on her mother-in-law and Oliver's favoritism. They will cover for her. The onlookers understood my words and suddenly grasped the situation. The looks directed at Sophia also became somewhat strange. Sophia's face turned pale. She realized she couldn't control me. Instead, she was outmaneuvered by me. She planned to act weak, feigning fainting to gain sympathy. When Oliver arrived, he just happened to see Sophia close her eyes and faint. He quickly caught her from the assistant. He looked up at me. His eyes were filled with pain, but he still sincerely spoke to me. Lily, this is all my fault. I was too eager to save someone. As a result, I made a mistake. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Sophia came to admit her mistake even though her health hasn't recovered. It's also to make herself feel better. Come home with me. You are still the young mistress of the Carter family. I really can't understand. How could I have misjudged him back then, falling in love with such a man? I managed the household for him. I put so much effort into managing life. I endured my mother-in-law's difficulties. I only worried about him being caught in the middle. Now seeing him, I just feel disgusted. My chest feels tight, as if a large stone is pressing down on me. It's extremely uncomfortable. Oliver, we are already divorced. Your family's matters. I can't get involved anymore. Emily just returned with the doctor. Emily, quickly get the doctor to check on Sophia. This Sophia is a distant relative of the Carter family, but Oliver is particularly fond of her. We need to be careful. Don't let anything happen to her, or the responsibility will fall on us. We can't afford that. By the way, don't forget to ask Oliver for the consultation fee. Oliver can even donate blood to save her life. This consultation fee is nothing compared to that. After saying that, she no longer paid attention to them and quickly walked into the villa. The onlookers looked at Oliver and the others with meaningful gazes. It seemed they sensed some astonishing secret. Days later, a web series called Forbidden Love among the elite siblings went viral on major social platforms. After seeing it, netizens immediately thought of the recent news about the Carter Group. They speculated whether the show was alluding to them. There are speculations that this drama is a reflection of them. Some people say, I heard that employees of the Carter Group wear masks when they go out, afraid of being recognized. Sophia first cut her wrist, then she hanged herself. She had so many different methods. It's truly astonishing to see. I shook my head, let out a sigh. Victoria is usually quite capable. Never thought she would be so curious about gossip. I couldn't help but ask, this drama wouldn't be planned by you, would it? Victoria looked at me with great interest. I cleared my throat twice. Go ahead. Victoria, you flatter me too much. I don't have that ability. All I did was have the PR team regularly post some materials online for the writers. I don't want to see people crying at my doorstep every day. That feeling is too awful. Oliver is leaving soon. He won't stay in this city for long. The group has also made a decision to discontinue the overseas acquisition plan in order to ensure the economic stability of the border regions. We need to send a few outstanding young executives to the branch to take charge. Isn't the Carter family wealthy because of real estate? Things are a complete mess in New York right now. What is going on here? I proposed to the board to send Oliver to the branch. Isn't that quite appropriate? Can he manage to establish himself there? It all depends on his own abilities. After Oliver leaves, I will arrange for a few capable people for you. You don't have to worry about the Carter family or the Smith family. You just focus on taking care of the kids. Just live your life well. After hearing his words, I quickly stood up to thank him. From that day on, I decided not to go out until Oliver leaves, to avoid causing unnecessary trouble. I didn't pay much attention to the situation at Carter Group. I just stayed in Hudson Heights, focusing on taking care of the kids, watching my daughter grow day by day. She no longer looks as wrinkled as when she was just born. I felt a warmth in my heart. Although I don't go out, Oliver suddenly came to visit. He said he wanted to see me and my daughter before he left. I scoffed. How could I possibly agree to such a request? Thinking back to when he wanted to use my newborn daughter as a subject for experiments to treat Sophia. They actually want to use my newborn daughter for experiments. I'm so furious. Now Sophia is being heavily criticized online. I wonder if Oliver will just take her to the overseas branch for some peace and quiet. But Oliver keeps pestering outside the villa. He said the Carter family has decided to send Sophia abroad for further studies. He will work hard at the overseas branch and come back to find us mother and daughter once he is successful. After hearing all this, I just felt it was absurd. The so-called sincerity is nothing but a product of calculated interests. I couldn't be bothered to listen to Oliver's nonsense anymore. Let Emily tell him. Let's talk again after he makes a name for himself abroad. Emily looked at me with worry. She asked, Lily, you don't really plan on going back to the Carter family, do you? What are you thinking? Do you think I'm that foolish I can support his career? But that doesn't mean I accept him as a person. After Emily heard this, she happily ran out to spread the word. Her daughter in her arms giggled along. An opportunity handed to you. If you don't take it, it's a waste. Grandpa is right. One must learn to live wisely from a young age. Only then can one stand firm in the future.